Philippe Coutinho Liverpool. Truth remains as Harry Kane follows similar transfer path. Tottenham Hotspur striker Harry Kane has suffered a downturn in form after failing to secure his dream transfer to Manchester City, but could learn from the example of Liverpool's Philippe Coutinho when his move to Barcelona was blocked. Harry Kane has often looked like a shadow of his former self this season, but perhaps the Tottenham Hotspur should cast his eyes to Liverpool when it comes to how want-away stars dealt with having to stay put. We often hear that along with money, player power now rules football, but after making Aston Villa's Jack Grealish England's first nine-figure player after completing a £100 million transfer, Premier League champions Manchester City were unable to broker a deal to bring Kane to the Etihad. Spurs chairman Daniel Levy has a hard-earned reputation within the game for being one of the toughest negotiators around, and regardless of any supposed gentleman's agreement that might have been discussed. He was never going to part with his prize asset for anything short of a king's ransom, and Kane of course was forced to stay put. Having turned 28 over the summer, you can understand the player's frustration that despite having a trio of Premier League golden boots on his mantelpiece, he has still yet to win a major honour. Some 25 years ago, when England last hosted an international tournament, their centre-forward Alan Shearer got his record-breaking move to Newcastle United. And that came despite being a Premier League title with Blackburn Rovers the previous year. Although ultimately that dream transfer home did not bring him any further honours. The prospect of their main rivals of recent years landing such a proven marksman like Kane was not a pleasant one for Koppitz, and there will have been relief all round at Anfield to see that, having released all-time leading scorer Sergio Aguero, City boss Pep Guardiola did not get his man this time around. While it would be unfair and inaccurate to sully the England captain's reputation by suggesting he has somehow downed tools so far this season, many observers have picked up upon a noticeable drop-off in his displays. Whether this down to fatigue, either mental, physical or both, after the Euros. A struggle to adapt to new manager Nuno's methods or just plain sulking, Kane has been a long way off the top of his game. Simon Brundish of Strength Lab cited Kane's distance-covered figures as dropping from 12.6 to 13.2 km per game to 6.7 to 7.8 km. Of course, strikers don't always have to cover the same kind of hard yards as midfielders to be effective, but Kane has had fewer carries of the ball. Total distance carried, progressive distance carried, shot creating actions, goal creating actions and shots per 90 minutes this term. A seemingly decent 7-goal return from 13 outings so far for Tottenham also masks the true story. Five of these goals came in the Europa Conference League. Two against Portugal's Pacos Ferreira and a hat-trick at home to Slovenian Minos NS Mura. While another was in a Carabao Cup tie at Wolves. When it comes to Premier League appearances, Kane has netted just once in 8 games against struggling Newcastle United. Whose newly acquired riches can't help their basket case of a current side yet. However, if Kane is in search for inspiration when it comes to other Premier League stars who pulled their socks up after being denied their dream move, he could do a lot worse than looking towards Anfield. In August 2017, Barcelona had a £72 million offer rejected by Liverpool for Philippe Coutinho. The Brazilian was unhappy and promptly submitted a transfer request by email. Two further, increased bids, understood to be in the region of £90 million and then £114 million were then made, but it was still not enough, with Reds chiefs declaring their definitive stance was that no offers will be considered. Coutinho had no option but to stay put. While undoubtedly hugely frustrated, the man who the cop knew as their little magician at the time set about producing a string of performances that not only benefited his current employers but convinced the Catalan giants to ultimately come back in for his services in the January window and eventually land his signature for the £142 million fee Liverpool found satisfactory. From 14 Premier League matches that term, Coutinho scored 7 goals and produced 6 assists. It was also a similar story back in 2013 when Arsenal tried to land Luis Suarez for £40 million plus £1. Prompting FSG chief John Henry to issue his famous, "What do you think they are smoking over there at Emirates?" tweet. The Uruguayan of course stayed put at Anfield for another season with his 31 goals almost steering Brendan Rodgers. Swashbuckling side to an unlikely Premier League title. Following another biting incident involving their temperamental football genius while on World Cup duty with Uruguay. Liverpool finally decided it was time to cash in during the summer of 2014, but despite his latest controversy, rather than make the sideways at best potentially backwards by this time move to Arsenal, it was again Barcelona who came calling for his services. Of course no Reds fan could conceive why one of their players would want to turn out for anyone else but a dose of pragmatism and reality can also be beneficial. One thing is for sure, Kane's malaise isn't doing either himself or his current side any favours. Perhaps only Liverpool themselves might benefit from the situation if City do get cold feet. Jurgen Klopp's main goalscorer Mohamed Salah has of course been in barnstorming form so far this term. The Egyptian's stellar displays amid a backdrop of uncertainty over his own future as the wait for a new contract rumbles on is just another example to Kane though of how to let your football do the talking at such times.